Wizard101.
What's poppin', everyone? It's the Existential Wiz here, and today I'm giving you a Promethean Life gear and deck setup video. That's right, I'm going to be showing you what I'm rocking and why I'm rocking it. Before I begin, huge shout out and thank you to Lord Yatagarasu for suggesting this video. So yeah, you guys already know. If there are any other videos you want to see in the future, just comment them and I'll be sure to give it a go.
As a disclaimer, I'm not saying these are the best stats for life. This is just what I'm rocking and what's worked for me.
And this is also an offensive life approach, mainly just because I find an offensive playstyle the most fun. I'm not trying to sit through long, boring matches. And with an offensive setup on life, you can get to Warlord pretty easily, but I will say that once you get to like 1500 rank or leaderboards, you should definitely switch to a defensive setup on life, but we'll get to that setup when we're there. So here are the stats I'm rocking. You definitely want to be a level 99 when you're doing Promethean PvP, just so you can equip more Ganth gear and you have that extra pip. Anyways, here are the stats I'm rocking. I'm rocking 1 of 4 damage, 47 universal resist, 52 to life, 12 life accuracy, which is more than enough. Life hits have 90 accuracy, so you only need 10 accuracy, and let's be real, nobody is mantling a life. If you're mantling a life, oh my god, get out of the arena. And then we have 10 universal accuracy. I mainly need that because I have a myth mastery, and also so you don't fizzle the weaknesses. My crit rating is 384. This is pretty solid. I crit about half, maybe more than half my hits, but I'm not relying on crit really, so I never calculate it when I'm planning when to hit. 176 crit, 196 to life and death, 36 life pierce, 44 in and out, which honestly I don't really care about. As you'll see, my deck build is not revolved around healing. I barely heal, so this barely matters. 96 power pip, which is solid. If you're doing Promethean PvP, you're definitely going to want to hit up Tartarus to get your gear, whether you're life or any other school. The Hades defensive set is going to be what you need. Here it is right here. You got to keep in mind that there is an offensive set. The difference being that the defensive set has universal resist, so that's definitely what you got to go for. And once again, similarly, we're using the Hades defensive robe. And here's it compared to the Hades offensive set. Now, we did switch it up a bit for the boots. For the boots, we're using the Melinda Spirit Sandals. This is from the Professor's Hordes pack. If you want a free-to-play version, obviously the Hades defensive boots are pretty good. But I personally just think the Melinda boots are a little better. They give a little bit more health, 1 more power pip. You lose 1 pierce, but you do gain 3 universal resist, 2 more damage. And you switch out the block for crit. Both are pretty solid choices. I just especially find the 3% universal resist given from the Melinda boots to be super helpful. For my wand, I go for the Quillen V-Light Lance. This is from the Immortal Lores pack. You can use the equivalent of this from the Road Warriors pack, and then you can pair that with the set bonus pet to get 3% resist as a set bonus. But the reason I don't go for that is because the May cast on that wand, it's a life hit, and my strategy revolves around blades pretty heavily. You definitely don't want, when you're wanding off debuffs, for the life May cast to go off and waste all your blades. I use the Immortal Lores wand purely for that reason. I just don't want a May cast to get rid of my blades and ruin my tempo. For the Thame, I use the Morganth Life Thame, obviously with the Purest Jewels. And for the Triangle Jewel, instead of socketing like specifically life accuracy, I socket 5% universal accuracy. The reason for that, as I explained before, is because life does not need that much accuracy. You only really need 10. Since I have a myth mastery, I don't want to fizzle my Earthquake or my Medusa. This lessens the chance, and then you don't fizzle your weaknesses. It's pretty nice. Now this is basically the star of the show. I like to go for a myth mastery. I think a myth mastery complements life very well, and it's kind of needed in this meta, especially when you go against schools like Death, like Ice, like other lives, and sometimes even myths. They see a life wizard and they assume you just can't get rid of their blades because of the new PvP update, so they start blading like crazy. And honestly, that Earthquake really comes in clutch without stealing all of your pips. Now, for the Square Jewel, I socketed Universal Block. No particular reason for that. I don't know which one saves you more damage in the long run. You could socket flat resist on there. The difference, I don't think it's life or death. If you don't have a myth mastery, or maybe you just don't want to go for that strat, you can go for the Morganth amulet as well, and that definitely, like, I'll be honest, it gives you better stats, but I personally just rock the myth mastery because I have a lot of fun in my matches. If you watch any of my live PvP videos, I get off some pretty insane plays with the myth mastery. Sometimes if I want to switch it up, I do use the life amulet, but myth mastery is just really fun. And it makes you a little bit more versatile, I think. For the ring, I think this goes for basically every school. The best ring you can get is the Duelist Daredevil ring. Gotta grind for this in attorneys. If you're new to PvP and you just want to jump straight to ranked, you don't want to hit up tourneys yet, the Alpha and Omega ring is a pretty solid second, but definitely if you want to perfect your stats, you gotta go for the Duelist ring. Just do it, man. Tourneys are only 50 gold now. Just hit a couple up and you'll have the Duelist ring before you know it. Now for the pet, I like to use a Mighty pet. Triple damage, double resist, Mighty. And oh god, please don't look at that 10 dealer. I know it's kind of gross. It should be 11. But I got this pet literally my first try and I was poor and I didn't want to waste more snacks on another pet. So I just kept it like this, okay? I'm sorry. Don't roast me. The reason I don't go for an aura pet is because, you know, as a life wizard, one of your toughest matchups is going to be balance. Anyone can relate when they go against a balance. Their pet decides to suddenly wake up and spam auras, and all of a sudden the balance can just get free damage off you. They can just farm you by using 2 pips and basically getting 2k damage on you. So I just don't like when that happens, so I just don't have an aura pet. And it works out just fine for me. For the mount, this isn't super important, but I like to use the life culture for 3% more damage. You could use the rock mount to sort of round up your pips, or you can use the clockwork mount to get 2% pierce. But I just use the culture just because I prefer damage. I do have the clockwork with the pierce, but I think I have enough. For the deck, you're gonna want the deck of the Shadow Heart. At level 99, this is the only life deck that gives you an extra pip. You would assume this drops from Morganth, but this doesn't actually drop from Morganth. For fire, ice, and life, if you want the extra pip deck for Promethean, you're gonna have to farm Tamulus, who is a storm boss in the Palace of Fangs. Morganth only drops the extra pip deck for, I believe, Storm and Balance only. And definitely when you're farming for this deck, you want it to have a triangle jewel socket. It's just the best socket you can have on a deck. The 2 universal accuracy jewels make it so I don't fizzle my life hits, I don't fizzle my weakness, and I have a lower chance of fizzling my Earthquake and Medusa outside of Infallible. If you're not going for a Myth Mastery strat like me, you can socket a life accuracy jewel here and then a pip jewel here, and then you can have perfect accuracy and perfect pips. Alright, so now that you guys know what I'm rocking, let's go to what I'm packing. Now, I think this is a relatively small deck for a life wizard. Most life wizards go for a full deck, but I personally don't. It's mainly because I'm offensive, right? The more offensive you are, the smaller your deck is going to be. Just so you can pull those blades and you can pull those hits. So what I'm packing is stun blocks. I got 3 stun blocks in. This is more than enough when you have a small deck. You definitely pull this within the first few rounds. I only have 4 tower shields in. The reason I'm not doing max tower shields is because, you know, I'm playing super offensive and most of my matches are pretty short. Like I'd say like less than 5 minutes. So most of the time, what I want to do is blade into the hit. So for that reason, I usually just don't get a turn to tower or do another defensive play because it just slows me down in terms of putting offensive pressure on. I got Volcanics in. The reason I don't have Thermics in is I'm not going against a lot of Ice Wizards. I got the Sharpened Blades in so I can stack up my blades. And then I have 5 Solar Surges in. The reason I have 5 in, even though most of the time I kill with 1 hit with a few blades on, is just so I can be flexible. If I'm going against a Myth Wizard or a Storm Wizard and they're just not letting me blade stack, then I switch my strat to basically be loom spamming. I have 1 Centaur in. It does decent damage for 6 pips. And if you guys have seen my PvP videos, I usually can pull off an insane combo where if I can get the Medusa off, then I feint into the Centaur and that does mass. Now, if you're someone who's used to cosmic PvP, you might be looking at this deck and thinking, what? You don't pack more dispels? But that's just the thing that's different when it comes to Promethean PvP. It's that you don't have Strike, and if you think back to the times you use a dispel in cosmic PvP, it's usually when your opponent is in Strike so they can take more backlash. And obviously in Promethean PvP, since you don't have Strike, you don't need to dispel as much, especially in turn-based. Just for me, it's not worth it to sacrifice 4 pips basically to do an off-school dispel. So I only pack 1 life dispel and I pack 1 myth dispel. Mainly because I only have to use 1 power pip on them. And also they're pretty good utility. If you're not going against a life wizard, you can use this to prevent a triage. And if you're not going against a myth wizard, you can use this to prevent a lot of things. You can prevent them from earthquaking off your blades. And if they're fainting you, so you think they're going for some shatter strat, you can use this to prevent the shatter. I pack 1 gnomes in, even though I haven't used it yet, just for circumstance. If for some reason I have my blades up and I'm ready to do my big hit, but they haven't put up a shield yet, then I will use gnomes instead of spiny just to get damage on them faster. King Art is in for basically a similar circumstance, or if I'm at full pips and I pull off the Medusa, then I can King Art. I got 2 Legion shields in. I have 1 Leprechaun in. This is mainly just to finish them on just in case, but I usually just discard it. I got 4 blades in so I can pull them. 2 Spirit Blades. Then I have 4 Luminous Weavers in. If you're a Life Wizard and you don't pack Luminous, are you actually Life? And I only have 3 Satyrs in. Now this is my only heal. Like I said, this strategy is not revolved around healing at all. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I only pack in 3 Satyrs. I don't even pack in a Guardian Spirit because I'm not trying to wait out the timer, which is what happens with most matches with a life. And I also just don't want to do that to my opponent. So that's why I don't pack a Guardian Spirit or any other heals. And honestly, I don't even use these 3 Satyrs. Most of the times I end up just discarding these. I have 2 Spinies in. The reason I pack 2 instead of 1, just against I'm going against a tanky opponent, I can have 1 for backup. If I'm not, this helps me just cycle through my deck. 3 Triage in, you obviously need Triage. And the Feint, if I can pull off the Medusa combo. In a match, I try not to discard my Storm wand hits because it's super helpful to take off debuffs like Tower Shields or weaknesses when you're blade stacking. I obviously got my Pet's item card. This is something I usually use early in the game before I start blading. If they put on an early shield, this takes off the shield and gives me a damage bubble. And then if they're school with a 2-pip damage bubble themselves, they waste a turn changing that bubble, and then I get the momentum by being able to blade up more. The life wand hits I barely end up using, but if they have an early set shield on, I'll use the life wand hits if I can't pull the brown spider, or maybe it just kills them when they tank a little bit. So here's my side deck. This is also like basically only half full. I have 1 single stun in case. Most of the time if they don't have stun blocks on, I prefer to Medusa just to get that 2-round advantage. 4 tower shields in. I have 1 pierce enchant in just in case I don't pull a solar surge, or if they have shield on and I think a spiny would be better with a pierce enchant. 3 life blades so I can pull for these if I don't have life blades in my hand. 1 life scarab just in case they shield after I spiny. Then I can remove the shield and buff up the overtime. Super duper clutch. A lot of people are blade stacking in this meta, including me, and this just shuts them right up. And I've been in many circumstances, obviously if you've seen my PvP vids, I've been in many circumstances where I'm against a life wizard or an ice wizard. And both of those schools love to minion and they love to blade stack. So this not only gets rid of their blades, but it also gets rid of their minion. Plus, it gets rid of any debuffs on me. Got the Medusa in because you got a Myth Mastery. So obviously you gotta pack. I only pack in 1 because my side deck is small enough where I can reliably pull it when I need it. And if they stun block, then it's not clogging up my deck. I can just easily discard this single one. The Shatter comes in slow clutch. It comes in really clutch. I cast this way more often than you think. When you're blade stacking, your opponent gets nervous, so he starts shield spamming. And then after you shatter, they can only shield 1 more time before you spiny. And if that's the case, the second hit on the spiny is completely open. 3 infallibles. This is kind of like the Promethean version of Shrike. I usually just prefer not to infallible because that kind of just lets your opponent know you're planning to hit in the next 4 rounds. You know, the element of surprise is honestly what helps me in most of my matches, just because people don't expect life wizards to hit really quickly. But I honestly hit probably within like the first, I don't know, I want to say like 5 to 6 rounds. So that's why I prefer not to infallible, because then that lets them know I'm planning to hit soon. Plus I already have decent pierce at 36%. But these are here in case I'm going against a more tanky opponent, or if I just need that extra buff. I got a single reshuff in. Obviously you're a life wizard, you need a reshuff. I think most schools need a reshuff besides Storm. And then I have 2 weaknesses in. I can't fizzle these because of my universal accuracy jewels. And these are super clutch when you're going against opponents that like to overtime, such as Death or Ice. Obviously this stops from the Mino and the King Art Promyth. Alright, so there you guys have it. That is my gear and my deck. I hope you guys found that helpful. If you guys want to see that setup in action, please be sure to drop a sub so you can see my future PvP matches. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. I'll catch you guys next time.